All right, today we're diving into an ancient story that feels like it was written for this exact moment. It's all about leadership, community, and the kind of massive changes we're all trying to figure out.
So let's just start with this. Take a second to let that sink in. It's a really potent idea, right? It comes from a Persian poem written way back in the 12th century, but honestly, it could have been tweeted yesterday. It's a challenge, it's a promise, and it's also a warning, all wrapped up in one.
To really get what that quote means, we have to jump into the story it comes from. It's a masterpiece of mystical poetry by a writer named Farid Attar, and it's called The Conference of the Birds.
So the story kicks off with a scene that probably sounds a little too familiar. You have all the birds of the world, and they're scattered, they're divided, they're anxious. They just feel like something is fundamentally off. And they decide the problem is a lack of leadership. They need a king. So the wisest bird, the hoopoe, steps up and says, okay, I have a solution. We go on a quest, a dangerous one, to find the legendary king, the Simurgh.
But, the second this incredible, life-changing journey is proposed, what happens? Excuses, hesitation, a whole lot of buts. And this is where the poem gets really interesting, because it stops being just an epic quest and starts becoming a super personal look at why we resist the changes we know we need.
And Attar's breakdown of the problem here is just brilliant. Each bird comes up with an excuse, but it's really an attachment that they've started to mistake for their entire identity. You've got the Nightingale, who's just too in love with his beautiful, familiar rose to leave it behind. The Peacock? He's completely stuck in the past, dreaming of a paradise he used to know. And the duck, well, he's convinced the muddy, stagnant pond he lives in is perfectly fine. They've all built these comfortable little cages for themselves.
And this is where the poem kind of turns and looks right at us, the readers. It asks a pretty direct question. What's your comfortable thing? What's that known certainty, that familiar habit you're clinging to? What's the rose that's stopping you from taking your own journey?
So even with all the fear, a brave few decide to go for it. They commit to the journey. But here's the twist. The path they take isn't across mountains or oceans. It's a journey inward, through 7 incredibly demanding valleys that are actually states of the soul.
And this path, it just flips our whole idea of progress on its head. It all starts in the Valley of the Quest. And the first rule is you have to let go of everything you think you already know for sure. Then, in the Valley of Knowledge, you learn that real wisdom isn't about collecting more facts, it's about shedding your attachments. And the final stage? The Valley of Self, where your ego finally dissolves, not because you've been defeated, but because you've truly arrived. Now, Attar is a total realist. He makes it crystal clear that this is unbelievably hard work. A lot of the birds just give up. They turn back, exhausted, drawn back to the memory of those comfortable cages. They don't fail because the journey is impossible. They fail because, in the end, they choose what's familiar over what's unknown.
But some of them, a few of them, push through. After this absolutely grueling spiritual journey, the exhausted survivors finally reach their destination. They're at the legendary court of the Simurgh, ready to finally meet their king.
Out of thousands and thousands of birds that started, a very specific number makes it to the end, 30. And trust me, this number is the key to unlocking the entire poem. So imagine this. After everything they've been through, they arrive expecting trumpets, a throne, some glorious, all-powerful king who's going to fix everything. But what they find isn't a king. It's a mirror. And in it, all they see is themselves.
And this is the poetic genius that Attar hid in plain sight the entire time. In Persian, the name of the king they were looking for, Simurgh, literally translates to 30 birds.
The king they were searching for was never some other being out there. The sovereign was what they had become. It was the collective group, purified and strengthened by the journey they took together. The leadership they were so desperate for had to be built from the inside out.
So this ancient story, what does it have to do with us? Well, this insight lands right in the middle of our world today, and I'd say its message is more urgent than ever.
The poem basically lays out 2 different paths. On one side, you have the strong man's promise, a voice we hear all the time today, right? It says, hey, don't worry about that difficult journey of change. I'll fix it. I will restore the past. I'll bring back your comfortable rose. But then you have Attar's path, which says that real leadership, real sovereignty, it's not found by going backward. It's earned through that tough, internal journey of transformation.
And here's another key lesson for our times. Those 30 birds that make it, they are still individuals. A nightingale is still a nightingale. Their unity doesn't come from erasing their differences, but from moving beyond them.
See, their mistake was never being a peacock or a duck. It was letting that identity become a limit, a cage. Real unity isn't something a leader imposes on you. It's something you earn together through a shared struggle.
Now, Attar doesn't pretend that suffering and confusion aren't real. He gets it. The night is dark. But he insists it's a passage, not a destination. In a world that so often tells us to build our entire identity around our grievances, this poem offers a radical idea. You have to pass through the darkness, not set up camp and build a house in it.
And that leaves us with this final, kinda unsettling, but also incredibly empowering idea. The leader who's going to save us, they aren't coming. The sovereign isn't some person who shows up from the outside. The sovereign is what we become, what a community becomes when it finally stops waiting and finds the courage to take the journey together.